Now, if the Czech Paul Murphy.
Thanks, Last Count Corla. In The Godfather Part 3, Don Lucchese turns to Vincent Mancini and he says, finance is a gun.
This is real politics.
Finance is a gun. Politics is knowing when to pull the trigger. And the gun right now of the European Central Bank is firmly pointed at the Greek banking system, at the Greek economy, and at the Greek society. It is being used very clearly to intervene and to demand a ransom of a yes vote on Sunday for more austerity. The queues at the ATM machines that you're all so concerned about when you didn't care about the queues at the at the soup kitchens, at places to get food, those queues are a result of the decision of the European Central Bank that was called for by your Minister for Finance. It's a result of the call and the decision not to allow further assistance to the Greek banking system. It is a part of the campaign of financial terror against the Greek people that has been pursued by the European establishments. It was added to 2 days ago by an incredible speech by the President of the European Commission, a speech that was full of lies about what the deal on the table for the Greeks was, and which clearly threatened, like the Taoiseach has done today, exit from the euro if they don't make the right decision, if they don't vote yes. And in his speech, Jean-Claude Juncker, he said something that I think will resonate with many people here who voted twice on European referenda in the past. He said, you have to vote yes, whatever the question put to you. There's European democracy. You have as many referendums as you want, many choices as you want, much democracy as you want, but you can only say yes to austerity. You can't say no to austerity. Yesterday, the President of the European Parliament made the same intervention, Angela Merkel the same. Why are you all so scared of democracy? Because austerity has failed in its stated aims of restoring growth, of reducing debt, because it's actually shrunk the economy by a quarter and ballooned the debt to 180% of GDP, when even the IMF admits the deal that was on the table, on a take-it-or-leave-it basis, would have resulted, even with 4% economic growth, in unsustainable debt. So it has no popular legitimacy, because in fact, what austerity was about and is about in this country and elsewhere is exposed in what has happened with the money that went to Greece. The money did not go to the Greek economy, less than 10%. The rest went to bail out the banking system, the German and French banks and the major bondholders. And that is the real purpose of austerity. So your only hope,
Deputy, please.
Sure, is that the tyranny of the Troika, the financial terrorism of the ECB and the bullying of Europe's leaders will force people to vote yes. And what's the Irish government's role in this mob story? It's played the role of Fredo Corleone, meekly doing what it's told, enthusiastically being used as a stick to beat the Greek people with. Can I ask the Taoiseach simply to agree that the bullying and the threats should stop, that the Greek people should be free to make their decision on Sunday about the austerity deal that is before them, and the threats that you have repeated today to kick them out of the Eurozone if they make the wrong decision should be withdrawn?
Thank you. Taoiseach, could we have order, please?
Maybe that's a rehearsal of your speech to be given in Athens on Friday when you go out there. Good luck with your travel, and I'm glad that you're following through with your conviction. Now, I'll say this to you. I listened at the European leaders' meeting to Prime Minister Tsipras. I listened very carefully to what he said. And what he said was, my country does not want to leave the euro. We will pay our way. We will not default. I have to deal with corruption. I have to deal with infrastructure. I have to deal with changed structures to make our country work. I need your help to do this. Mr. Draghi has given 87 billion of emergency liquidity to the Greek banks. Other countries, through their taxpayers, are very heavily indebted to Greece now. And believe me, they want to see Greece work as a democracy and their citizens be able to live a life the same as anybody else would expect in the European community. But that requires, Deputy Murphy, that people sit down and deal with the challenges that they face. And as Prime Minister himself said, he went down to the OECD. He met their personnel who could give him the best advice, technical and otherwise, in order to put in place the structures that he himself says are necessary for Greece to make its way forward. Believe me, there's a willingness and an encouragement not just to listen, not just to respond with words, but to respond with assistance in putting in place those structures that will allow Greece to function as a democracy that can make its way forward, pay its way and deal over a longer period with its particular problems. And that was accepted by the European leaders, hearing it directly from the Prime Minister. But that's not what came back from Athens later. And I don't have the reasons as to why the negotiators for Greece were withdrawn. But I do know that papers are now being exchanged, that Minister Varoufakis has been talking, as has a number of other members of the government of Greece, as to whether the referendum is going to be held or not. I do hope, Deputy Murphy, that in the conference call which will take place today at 4:30 between the Eurozone ministers, that some progress can be made here. Everybody wants to see this work. Nobody wants to see a situation where this spirals downwards from what's already beginning to happen in Greece. Nobody wants to see that. And from our point of view, we will work with our Greek colleagues in any way that we can to bring them back from this precipice, which they're now in arrears. The first developed country, I think, for if ever, to be in this particular position.
Thank you, Deputy Paul Murphy.
If you want to respect and help your Greek colleagues, and if your words of sympathy and solidarity with the Greek people mean anything, then withdraw the threats. Be a leader of a European country that says we don't believe that if the Greek people vote no, they should be forced out of the Eurozone if that is not their wish. I believe that all this talk about you being interested and the European leaders being interested in negotiations, it is not made in good faith. What happened in the negotiations? A deal was put on the table. It was put on the table on a take-it-or-leave-it basis, and it was put on the table in the knowledge that Syriza as a whole would not be able to take it. Paul Krugman, writing yesterday, wrote that it was an offer that it could not accept, deliberately, because at the same time they were negotiating with the leader of New Democracy and with the leader of Potami, the river. Because what the European leaders wanted was a silent coup in Greece to replace the government with something more acceptable. So then a referendum is announced. All of a sudden, they're in favour of negotiations. Again, they even raised the question of debt relief, which was off the table. And so Tsipras writes to you and to others, and he says, OK, let's postpone the ending of the second programme so we can have negotiations till after the referendum. And what does everyone say? Everyone says no. So Tsipras writes again today, and he says, writes yesterday and again today, saying we want a third programme. And what does Merkel say? Merkel say no. We won't have any negotiations until after the referendum. Because what they want is Syriza to be defeated in the referendum and to get rid of the problematic issue of democracy and replace it with a government that will do exactly what they want. And the role of the Irish government in all of this has been absolutely shameful. It has been used as a stick to beat the people of government, the people of Greece and the people of Ireland, and it does so consciously against the interests of people here. It is shameful that today the Ballyhay bondholders are over in Brussels making a case for debt write-down for Irish people. And the Taoiseach is here basically saying nobody needs any debt write-down, everyone should pay their debts unless that is you're the richest person in this country. Shame on you. Where is the 2012 June agreement? Completely forgotten. And so I say to the Greek people, do not be bullied. The Irish government does not speak for the people here. We too say ohi, no, to the Troika tyranny, to austerity, and we stand alongside you in a fight for a Europe that works in the interests of the millions, not the millionaires.
Thank you. Taoiseach, to conclude.
Yeah, well, I'm interested in your analysis that there's a threat here to drive Greece out of the Eurozone. See, you do understand, Deputy Murphy, that there is no exit mechanism from the Eurozone, and that a country would have actually to request that it leave. So your analysis that there's a threat here from this country or anybody else is absolutely baseless. It's absolutely baseless. The situation is that Greece is now in arrears of its debts to the IMF. There's a problem here, obviously, and a serious problem that is affecting the millions of people in that country. Now, you know, and you've often said it here, why have other people tell us what to do? So, what's coming from the Prime Minister and the government of Greece is to say, I recognise you've got a problem. I recognise you've got to deal with corruption, with restructuring the way we do business here, with having an incentive and an infrastructure platform to develop our country. We need help to do that. And he points out the way that he sees that this can happen. The exposure from other taxpayers in other countries is enormous in some cases. Now, it's fine for you to say, withdraw your threat. There is no threat of forcing anybody out of the Eurozone. And I'd make this point here. The same democracy that has you in here is the same democracy that says to other European leaders, I cannot get through my parliament a motion to extend the bailout programme. I won't get it through because I'm held in position by 2 or 3 parties or whatever. That's democracy as well. And that would be required to have that consent. In fact, some parliaments would have to ratify whatever the agreement might be. And I have to say to you, Deputy Murphy, that on Saturday, the intention was that there would be the meeting of the Eurozone ministers, that they would negotiate for whatever time with their Greek counterparts, agree a deal, have that put through the Greek Parliament, have it endorsed by the Finnish, Dutch and German parliaments, and then be able to go through for the next 6 months with a programme which would finance Greece's needs, which would meet its repayments and allow the country to start the work that Prime Minister Tsipras himself said is required. Now, I hope they get back to that position during the conference call at 4:30. Nobody wants to see a spiralling backwards and downwards from where we are here. There is a responsibility on everybody to make it work. From the institutional end and from the political leaders' end of the Eurozone, we are willing to work and engage with our Greek colleagues to make this happen. There is a way through this, but it requires two to be at the table.
Thank you, Taoiseach. That concludes